Welcome to the S.J. Child Show, where a little bit of knowledge can turn fear into understanding. Enjoy the show. Hi, welcome to the SG Child Show today. It is a beautiful autumn day, even though you may be listening to this at any time of the year. So just know that if you are listening to this, just feel warm and cozy and like it's a great day. And thank you so much for joining us. And today I have Carrie Pierce with me. And I'm really excited to get into this conversation and let you guys learn more about her and the value she has in the work she does. So thank you so much for being here today, Carrie.
Oh, thank you, SJ. It is a beautiful autumn day. We've been, prior to the show, rejoicing in the glorious trees, but you're absolutely right to keep things evergreen. I hope if people are listening to this in summertime, some of the coziness will still come through for them.
Yeah.
So it's a pleasure to be with you and your listeners.
Oh, thank you so much. And, I just love to start out with an introduction. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you here today.
Oh, gosh. Well, I started out in the film and TV industry where I did makeup and special effects, and that kind of went along and rolled along, and it became a little bit of screenwriting at times. And I really enjoyed that opportunity because I had always, from a very young age, been enthralled with books and words. I always knew from an early age I wanted to write, but I didn't know the first thing about how to do it. Even before I could read, I was in love with books. And so I kind of went from the film and TV genre into more of the makeup world, where I started writing health and beauty articles, especially geared for midlife men and women. And then I worked with burn and scar patients, helping them do a bit of restorative makeup, and wrote about that for a while. And then I got into radio. So I did a few syndicated radio shows, and that drew along a lot of my writing experience. I had to fall on that to put the shows together. And you know how that goes. So it's just been a long process throughout my life, a long winding road of blossoming into the writer I always dreamed of being. And I'm a children's book author now, and also the co-director of a publishing house, Morgan Pierce Media and Publishing. So that's in as tight a nutshell as I can make it about me. So.
I love that. Well, and you really, when you do writing, and this is had a reading expert come on to the show once, and one thing that I'll always remember that stuck out to me is if you have something, a written piece of something or something you're passionate about, it is your duty to share it with the world, because your perspective is the only one that will be there, and like your piece of what you can share and your talents and your ideas and experiences are so unique because they are just your own, and we are so unique as individuals. So I love that he said that, and just reminded me and everyone else, like, expression through writing, children's books. I love children's books, especially.
I do too.
And it's just so, it's so tangible for families, for parenting, for grandparenting. There's just so many ways, nieces and nephews, whatever, however you spend a preschool teacher. There's so many ways to help a person grow through books. And
Yes.
You being not only a writer, but then also doing the publishing piece, what a special place to be to bring those works from other individuals also to the world. So.
Well, thank you. I love everything that you just said, and it is so very true. I feel like if a message is put on your heart, it is absolutely up to you to stand up and speak it. And I think in today's world now more than ever, we need brave souls and brave hearts to stand up and speak truth and speak goodness and speak on about parents and grandparents, I think is so important. And as I have done the children's books and I have been out there doing talks about the importance of story time and keeping story time safe and all of those things, I see how truly important it is for not just parents, but also grandparents to really expose their young ones to the written word. I think, the kiddos today have grown up plugged in, and they, because of that, have suffered somewhat. They have difficulty interacting with humans on a social level. The blue light that we're constantly exposed to and to be bad for our eyes. And I think to have the opportunity to present an old-fashioned book to a young one, there's nothing like a book that you hold it in your hands. And I have some books on my mantle in 1870 something to somebody else. To hold those books in your hands, you're holding history. And there were hands 100 years before yours that touched some of these books. And I think that's being missed. There is a sensuousness and a passion to books that you just don't get through a device. And to have the opportunity to sit down with your little ones, whether they're your own or your grandchildren, and share a story, share the written word, that is truly magical. And those memories last forever, lifetimes, and they're passed down generation to generation. Yeah. And I feel like in today's world, we're really missing that, and it worries me. So that was my soapbox. I agree with everything that you said.
Well, I think that it's so important because today's generation is unlike any that's ever come before us, and they move in the world so differently. And so we really have to be careful to kind of join them where they're at, but also teach them the value of things that it works for society and humanity. And books have always, written word has always been that thing. And I think that the expression through all of the short video clips and things, it doesn't give the mind a way to explore. It's not exploratory. It's just like bam in your face, bam in your face. And it's so disruptive, I think, instead of being this like creative exploration of ideas and images and, all of the things that happens, even through audible books, even for those who may not be able to read, for, a dyslexic or for someone with vision impairment, the ability to still hear that story or and just be able to kind of, like I said, create that wonderful exploration of creativity in your own mind. And when you're reading to someone else and theirs, that is so missed in today's TikToks and Instagram stories. And yeah, it says stories, but don't be fooled. I mean, I'm sorry if I'm like standing on a social media, like protest, but no, I mean, I love social media for the purpose that it has to connect, because I am a great connector, and that is one of my like most important things that I can offer right now in my life. And so it's how you go about, what is your intention? What is the intention behind it? So how do you?
But that you bring up a really good point. Now, I'm sorry, I just talked over you. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No.
But, as you were talking about the audible books and things like that, that made me hearken back to, there is a resurgence theater. And when you're listening to a story unfold, it's using different parts of your brain. And when you're listening to the spoken word read aloud from a book, you're using different parts of your brain, as opposed to sitting down and being hammered with these little video snippets and things like that. It is a very superficial form of presenting a story or communication. And I don't want to pull the show topic down, but it does concern me. The latest stats for year 2020 were very concerning, especially where children are concerned, in the sense that psychiatric hospitalizations for children ages 5 through 11 increased by 24%. And with adolescents, it was even worse. It was a 31% increase. And now in where we are in today's date, looking back, those numbers are going to be even worse. There's going to be even more of these psychiatric hospitalizations. Those are occurring for a reason, and actually for several reasons. And I think to have a chance to bond with a young one over the written word and not to take it is a sad, sad shame. And it's a loss and a waste and a missed opportunity that's just so horribly, it just makes me bereft thinking about it. So
no, I couldn't agree more. And in my process of writing the children's books that I have 7 children's books about special needs, and in that time frame, my intent was, well, I have these children that the world won't understand. So how can I better present the information to them, especially when they are children themselves in the neighborhood and such, and give them a better sense of who my children are and how to better support them and be understanding. And in that was so beautiful that my child, who is dyslexic and didn't get as much out of the written books as much, was an amazing artist and said, well, could I illustrate a book? And I said, of course. So right behind me back here, we have Anna's ABC book, which was illustrated by her when she was 8 years old.
Oh, my word.
Yeah. And such a powerful, like you said, connection tool to use, because yes, it's great. Like, kids want attention, people think, but really kids want connection. Versus attention is
it's a huge thing, huge difference.
And there's so
but
many
even though with dyslexia books, we're still reaching her heart. And that's a precious story that although she couldn't maybe process the language in the book, she could still have a huge impact. And she spoke a language in a book through her beautiful art. And what an amazing thing. And I do feel that children's books especially bring with them a great opportunity for healing. I mean, a children's book that is carefully crafted and that is written from a place of a heart that is saying to a young person, I've been there. And childhood is a magical, wonderful time, but it's also very difficult and scary and overwhelming. And I think we need to acknowledge that. And there are children out there that are neurodiverse and that face different challenges. Not all children are alike, and not all children are cookie cutter stamps of the idea of what society thinks a child or childhood should be. And it's I think so important to find a way to give them messages of hope and comfort and overcoming and strength. And in my children's books, I purposely make them technologically obsolete for a reason. And some of that is so they are more timeless, but I also want the child hearing my story to have to ask their parent or grandparent, what is that thing she's talking about? What is a rotary phone? And how did it work? And did you have one? And so my stories are crafted in such a way that it triggers these conversations. And I also use bigger words because I want the reader to have to stop and if it's being read aloud to them, ask, what does that mean? And if they're reading it on their own, to have to either go look it up online or go find a dictionary, which is getting harder to find in old-fashioned dictionaries. But I feel it is so important that we find ways to start triggering conversations with our young ones for the very reasons you just spoke of earlier. So
no, the conversations, the discussions with them are like second. Like, read the book, have the discussion. It's like the way it has to be. And
yeah,
I agree. And in my other children's books, I did the same thing, discussions in the back where you can learn about what autism really is, what dyslexia really looks like, or how do you get help for dyslexia? How do you understand someone with Down syndrome and be more compassionate and learn that in a scientific way, you can learn about chromosomes that way, and kind of try to integrate science and things like that into the learning as well. And I love to the access that it gives each child, because they all have different ways they want to learn or interests they have. And when you have a multitude of conditions or things that you can showcase to children, such a better influence they have in their life to take it, to the next grade, to the next school, to the next family reunion, church gathering, whatever, this information that they can bring. And children's books really do that. They help them see the world that might be harder in a softer, easier way to comprehend it.
Yeah, very well said. And as you're speaking, I am thinking of the astronomical rates of autism now. And my mother, who passed away about a year and a half ago now, was my best friend, and we used to volunteer at a camp for developmentally delayed young adults, and we would go for their Halloween carnivals, and we would dress up and do different things throughout the year with these developmentally delayed children and young adults. And it doesn't work just one way. We received so many gifts from those precious souls. They taught us to see life differently. They exposed layers of magic to life that maybe I had never seen before or had forgotten in the adult angst and shuffle of the world. Sure. And I am grateful for those opportunities and for those little ones, because I feel like they actually have made my writing better, because I understand more of how their minds and their hearts work. And there is a guilelessness to some of them, and their hearts are so pure. And this world needs that, and needs them so much.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that too, because we haven't spoke prior to this at all, and you couldn't have better explained my child in in a whole beautiful way. He was reading at 1. Do you remember the Your Baby Can Read program? Commercials for that.
Yes, I do.
Flashcards. And I, was 33, my first child, kind of older. And so I'd settled into this, I'm going to be super educated mom, and I got these books not knowing that my baby at the time had and will continue to have a photographic memory for his life. And so I started him on the reading path extremely early. And he was writing at 2, and by 3, he was showing us his photographic memory by writing words that he'd seen on the drive, all the store names or the license plates, the street names, all of these things. And it was just like you said, this effortless beauty that also came with not being able to toilet train, not being able to tie shoes, not being able to communicate with other people and, adults and children around him first till now, even. And so, but in those difficulties, we also have this better understanding through those magical gifts and moments that we can be okay, it's okay that it took 7 years to go to the bathroom. It's okay, because he has his whole life to do it. Thank goodness. I to share that with parents. It's okay. And also he has, there's so many things and amazing opportunities he could have, but how to get there is a tricky path. And I'm not going to be able to get it if I'm not reading and keeping up on education and things like that. So I love that it's kind of taking this interesting turn, because I think that other reading is so important. Children's books, amazing. But when you need information, where do you go to get it? Well, if you are someone that's like me, or someone that likes more than one piece of information, you read, and you research, and you go to several places, and you do a lot of reading, not just a few ideas, one idea,
Well, I think the very smart people do that. And for a while, I think we became a very kind of lazy, complacent society, and we allowed ourselves to be spoon-fed things. But I think that is changing now, and I'm very glad about it. And I think the smart ones are out there, and they realize they must think for themselves, and they must dig and be diligent. And there are a lot of children's books out there that contain themes that I find, as a 60-year-old person and someone that loves children, concerning. And there's a lot of black magic themes. There's a lot of hypersexualized themes out there. There's a lot of themes around drug use and abuse. And I feel like it is our job to be the gatekeeper for our young ones. And if you're going to read a child's book to your child, I think in today's world, it is certainly smart to read it first yourself. And I am always honored when parents and grandparents buy my books for their little ones, but they read them first. And then I have gotten some very humbling, heartfelt emails from parents and grandparents. And some of them have even said, I was just reading this to make sure it was safe for my child, and I wasn't expecting the message to resonate with me so much. And I just feel like as society as a whole and humans as a whole, we are all leveling to the same level, in the sense that our hearts are hungry, and our hearts and our spirits are hungry for gentility and sweetness and kindness and innocence again. Mm-hmm. I think we have been through so much in the last several years that we're all kind of meeting on that plane of civility and humanity. And we may all be different in how our hearts resonate, or the pains that we carry, or how our minds work, or how we handle language or don't. But we're meeting on a heart level now, I think, more than we have in a very long time. Mm-hmm. And I see that as hopeful and encouraging. I hope it is a time of healing for little ones and for adults.
Well, and I think you said something that really resonated with me, and that was that even in this, making these connections and being able to pass these messages along to people in a form that makes them happy in the grocery store, on their drives, when they're jogging, sitting at work on a break, to be able to listen to a podcast that brings you joy and inspiration, hope, ideas, all of those things. I mean, what an amazing, I wish I would have been doing this for like 20 years or something, yeah. But what an amazing journey. I obviously wouldn't have been able to do it until I did, because that's the right time and everything,
yeah.
The right time is now. So I'm really grateful for that. And what do you have next on the horizon? What are you working on that
Well, and I'm writing down what you just said. The right time is now. I love that quote, and I needed that today, so I thank you. So I was scribbling that down. Well, actually, I am working on a new children's book, and my books are long. They are written not only for the children, but they are written for the person that is reading aloud to the child. It's very important to me, where my books are concerned, that adults enjoy them every bit as much as the children do, and that they're not dreading having to read for 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. So I write for the adults as well. And my last children's book that's out there now is The Tale of Tommy Tomlinson's Tennis Shoes, and it's almost 40,000 words long. It's 12 chapters and an epilogue. And so I'm just now beginning another book that shall remain titleless for but it's going to be probably even longer than that one. But as the publishing house co-director, we are launching something that we are very excited about, and it's a unique project, and it's called Letters from Elizabeth. And what it is a letter subscription service, and it's 2 letters mailed to your home every month for a year, and it's written mainly for grieving women age 50 and above. And it's written, I'm the main writer, and it's a compilation character. Elizabeth is a compilation character of myself and a friend I met in a grief group after my mom died. And it's to help women find themselves again, because a lot of women out there have either been married most of their lives, or they've been recently widowed after being married most of their lives, or they have been recently divorced after being married most of their lives. And for the first time in their lives, at midlife and beyond, they are starting to have to live life alone. And it can be an extremely daunting, scary thing. And so we wanted to become a friend in their mailbox every month, to walk with them,
Yeah.
and kind of ruminate about the grief process, and the growing and the blessings that are there if we dig for them. And sometimes, unfortunately, we do have to really dig to find the blessings and things.
Yeah.
So that is something we are right now launching at Morgan Pierce Media Publishing, and we're just really excited about it. The letters took a year to write. They're very carefully crafted. They're anywhere from 6 to 10 or 11 pages long. So they've got a tremendous amount of heart in them and a lot of love in them. And they're becoming very well received because people are wanting to give them as gifts for their mothers and their grandmothers and their aunts who are going through grief. So, unrelated to children's books, that's the project that Morgan Pierce Media and Publishing is in the middle of releasing now.
I love that. And thank you for being so vulnerable in your own life to bring that forth to heal other women. I think that's just made me a little emotional.
Well, thank you. Thank
I think
you.
it's so beautiful. And yeah, what a great way to give and to show up for um as a light of intention, and of love. So
Well,
fantastic.
thank you for
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
I spent so much time curled up in the fetal position crying in my living room floor, and then I would drag myself to my grief meeting at hospice, and then I was encountering and listening to these amazing stories of other women. I mean, some of these women were 90 years old. They'd been married their entire adult lives, and they were sitting in their houses in the fetal position on their
Yeah.
floor crying. And then I met my friend, and she was spending most of her time doing that. And I just feel like, in terms of being human and real, and as children's book authors, I'm sure you love The Velveteen Rabbit just as
Mhm.
much as I do. It's one of my favorite books. I feel like in today's world, we're called, especially as writers, we're called upon to be real and human. And it is part of the mission in a writer. And a writer's life is a different life than other professions or other people. We spend a great deal of time alone, and we spend a great deal of time carefully picking each word that we write and stringing them together in carefully crafted ways. And I think we feel differently. And just like I think we're neurodiversive too. I think to be a writer is a hard calling, but it's a special calling, and it's filled with blessings. But in order to do it well, we have to live a different way. We have to be lonely at times, and we have to sit with feelings and be willing to feel them instead of run from them or hide from them. And that can be overwhelming and painful, just like having autism can make your nervous system very sensitive. Being a writer kind of is the same.
Yeah, I can envision. And it's interesting you say that, because when you are the person going through it, it really doesn't seem to be a process, if you will. And then you kind of look back, or you have someone like a husband that says, "Oh, you just lose yourself. Let us know when you're gonna, so we can plan on 3 weeks of not
Yeah.
talking to you and seeing you and everything." I mean, I kind of joke that it literally takes me, because it's like poetry basically, and it takes me maybe 15 minutes. That's the shortest book that I've ever read, or written rather, but it takes so long to create the right pictures or the right, just, the
Yeah.
way, like you say, there's so much crafting that goes into it. And, there's books still that I have unwritten, 7 to 10 probably.
Oh my.
Yeah. So lots of nuggets to be uncovered, discovered, and brought out to the world at whatever point is right for them to come out. So
Well, and the timing is always there. I know it becomes
yeah.
very frustrating. We become so impatient. Look, can we just get this done? Why is this taking so long? But invariably, when you look back, it always was perfect timing. And that is so hard to surrender to and to
Yeah.
just make peace with. But you bring up a very good point. When you write, especially when you write professionally, that book becomes your child, and you are releasing it out into the world. And it's like taking your kiddo to kindergarten the first day. You're publishing it and you're sending it out into the big wide world, and you with love. And I know that sounds like a silly analogy to people that don't write or don't get it, but you put so much of your heart and your soul, and to have a story idea, I don't think a good writer just thinks, oh, that'll be a good plot, I'll write this book. It is a mission.
Yeah.
I feel it is a calling, and it has to be done in obedience, and it has to be done in a highly disciplined manner. And there is a tremendous amount of blood, sweat, and tears that go into a really good book. And it's always gratifying when it resonates, and you get, even if it's just one email from someone saying your story touched me.
Yeah.
That is it's oxygen to a
Yeah.
writer.
I love that. Where can people go to find more information about the books and the publishing company?
Well, thank you for that opportunity. I probably have 3 different places to send them. The publishing company is Morgan Pierce Media Publishing.com. And there you can read all about the services that we offer and who we are. Our bios are there, my business partner, Sandra Morgan, and I. And we also release little videos and things like that, kind of little short snippets about editing and certain little tidbits about writing. So we have some things scattered about social media and YouTube as well. Letters from Elizabeth is the subscription letter service for grieving women. And that is lettersfromelizabeth.com. And then my 2 children's books that are out there now, Abby Appletree and The Tale of Tommy Tomlinson's Tennis Shoes. They're both on Amazon. But if you want an autographed copy, and I sign them all by hand, so that it's not a stamp, I've signed them by hand, you can order that copy through morganpiercemediapublishing.com. But I've really loved our time, Sarah. It's been precious to visit with you, and I thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you so much. And the same. And I'd love to catch up with you in the future when the next book is ready. And let's have you back on to talk about it and what other
Thank you.
interesting things might be happening. So we'll definitely stay in touch.
I would love that. I would welcome that. And I wish you all the best with yours, and the 7 to 10 that you still have inside you.
Yeah, right. Good luck to that. Thank you so much. And thanks to our
Thank you.
listeners. Have a great day.